All right, hello, LibertyCon. This is the A Rider Walks into a Biker Bar panel. And today we have a number of bikers who are also authors that you may know or may not know, but you'll get to know them by the time we're done with this panel. And I guess let's go around. Dan, you want to start?
Sure. What you want me to go? Well, how much detail? I'm Dan Hollifield. I'm the senior editor for Epelian Webzine, which has been online continuously since 1997.
Cool.
I've got a couple of books out now. I've got a couple of short stories in different anthologies now. I've got more works in progress than any man should ever have. And I just absolutely, I'm also a composer. I just released my my 9th album this week.
No kidding. Okay, that's cool.
Well, yeah. And basically, I just I keep busy.
All right. Quincy.
So I'm Quincy J. Allen. I bill myself as a cross-genre author. I've written short fiction and novels in sci-fi, fantasy, horror, noir, steampunk, thriller, Christmas. I've done a couple of Christmas shorts. I write all over the place. At last count, I had 8, I think, novels out, 7 or 8. 3 of them have been co-authored. I co-author with Kevin Eikenberry of Four Horsemen Peacemaker fame, and also with Mark Allen Adelheit of Steiger's Tigers fame. If you haven't, it's Roman Legion meets sort of epic fantasy and Lord of the Rings, really cool stuff. And I've been writing a series with him in that world. I'm currently working on a novel with Adelheit. That's the 3rd in the trilogy. I'm working on a novel with Eikenberry. It's a sequel to Enforcer called Scourge. I'm working with Jamie Ibsen on a novel that's going to be through CKP. That's sort of a fallout from the We Dare, the first that We Dare anthology he did. He and I both, we had interlinking short stories that we decided to turn into novels, and he just finished his first draft, and it's really good. So I'm like you, Dan. I've got more projects that I know what to do with, and I'm also working on with Rob Howell and 3 other folks over at New Mythology Press. We're working on a super secret project that's fantasy based, and that's all I'm going to tell you for now. But look for more stuff coming out there. I'm literally all over the board. You can find me at quincyallen.com.
Cool. All right, Tom.
Been riding motorcycles since forever. Came out of the service in late '83 with my Sportster and rode all over the Southwest, causing trouble. Eventually, years and years later, I wrote a nasty letter to the editor of Quick Throttle magazine, telling him what an idiot he was. And then he wrote me back and said, "Hey, you write that criticism letter pretty good. You want to write for the magazine?" And so I started writing biker stories and covering events, and eventually became the Southwest editor of Quick Throttle magazine. I got to interview all the folks from the Biker Build-Off. I got to interview Scott Walker, who was the governor of Wisconsin at the time. And it was all motorcycle oriented. So at the tail end of that process of contributing, regular nonfiction to the motorcycle magazine, people said, "Hey, you should write a book. You should write a book. You should write a book," because I'm reasonably entertaining. So I wrote a book, and it's a sci-fi space opera. And everybody went, "Hey, I thought this was going to be a biker book." And I'm like, "Well, I'm more interested in sci-fi and fantasy." And since then, I've written a couple of books. One of them space opera, one of them urban fantasy sci-fi twist stuff. I wrote the second one with my son. It was a Dragon Award finalist. We actually made it to the top of the heat, which was kind of cool. Him and I actually wrote the book without having never met. He was raised in Australia, so we wrote the book in the cloud, and we used the royalties to actually go meet for the first time, which was a very cool thing. Yeah, there's a video online. Author father meets son for first time. You can look it up. It's pretty cool. And now I'm just grabbing projects and kind of staying busy. Since then, I've only actually written one biker-oriented short story. I just showed these guys a picture of it. It's an elf gal that works bike events to chase down werewolf bikers. So that's the only kind of motorcycle thing I've written since then, since I was actually doing the regular live and talking to real motorcyclists and being part of my chosen lifestyle. So I also used to be a committee member for the Arizona Bike Week. when that event turned around, and that was phenomenal. That was a great experience, just meeting literally 100,000 bikers, and just kind of making the event a little better. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, it was very cool. It was very cool.
Chris,
Cool.
your turn. Sommerkorn.
Okay, so what
Introduce yourself.
what are we saying?
Introduce yourself.
Introduce yourselves. Okay.
Who are you and what do you do?
Aside from riding, or including riding?
Including riding.
Including riding. I haven't written very much. I've written 2 novels.
That's a lot.
The first one is Mormons versus Vikings in space.
Wait, what?
And the
Mormons
second
versus
one
Vikings in
is
space. What? Okay, we're gonna have to get
Yeah.
back to that one because I want to know what the hell you did there.
I was gonna say, that's a great tagline. That's it. That should be a freaking movie.
You notice the guy with the dwarf beard wants to know more about it immediately.
Wait,
That sounds awesome.
all right, keep going, man.
all right. Yeah, and the second one is retaking Rhodesia from the communists. Basically, just took a meme and wrote a novel out of it.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Good work.
Yeah.
I'm being invaded.
Aside from that, I drive truck and I ride motorcycle. That's about it.
Reason.
All right. Well, I'm William Joseph Roberts, your moderator. I'm a little bit of everything besides writer, design engineer, artist, blah, blah, too many things. Ordained minister. Hey, go figure that one out. I haven't figured that out yet. Okay, go away.
Hi.
Go away, kid. Get Bob.
Have fun storming the castle.
Go get your cut. You can show off your cut to the boys.
Ooh.
Okay.
Hey, he's got a Legend of Zelda cut. Had Grammy hook it up for him.
Right on.
I write just about everything. I mean, it depends on what the Evil Mind Squirrels demand of me. Sci-fi, fantasy, horror, just it all depends on what tickles my fancy at the given time. I guess let's start this off. Since we're all bikers.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, no, you got to put it on, boy. Yeah, you got to put it on. Hey, you don't want to get on camera.
No.
Stupid fruit flies. Brain work. Oh, okay. So we're in a bar. What are you guys drinking?
Oh, just beer.
I got a
Sapporo.
Boilermaker. Sapporo.
So
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of beer, but I like Sapporo and Corona. I like the lighter ones. So if I'm getting serious, I'll drink bourbon. We do Kentucky Mules at home.
Okay.
But so the reason I have this,
that's one of the rice beers, isn't it?
no, it's
no.
I never. No, it's not. It's not like it's not like a sake. But I have a little. So Vicky got me a little micro fridge for beside my desk because she's awesome. And so there's Sapporo in there, and then I don't know if you've tried these. We drink a lot of seltzers. This is alcoholic seltzer, and they're really good. So I keep those like right next to my desk.
I'm having a bourbon barrel Temptress, which is a stout that's barrel aged in a whiskey barrel after the whiskey's been removed, and it's about 11.8% alcohol, and it is a phenomenal drink. But it's not a cheap high, so you don't buy 2 of these just to get hammered. Although one of them
sound good though.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Really good.
Yeah.
It has all kinds of nuanced flavor and depth to it. That's just amazing for a beer. It's just phenomenal.
Well, we know Chris ain't doing anything because he just got off the road.
I hope not.
Yeah, I'd hope not too. Oh, what? You stopped in Fargo tonight?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's start off with you, big boy. Explain that. What you riding?
That's my slow bike.
Well, what is it though?
What is-
No.
Harley Electric Glide. Ultra
Oh, electric
Limited.
glide. Okay. Cool.
I didn't figure
What
you'd
year?
be able to send me a picture, so I got one off your page.
What year is it?
2011.
Oh, cool. Okay. Electronic fuel injection, all that
I
good
bought
stuff.
I bought it with less than 10,000 miles. The guy who owned it before never rode it. You know, dentists and doctors, they're the ones who ride new Harleys.
Yeah, rich urban bikers let real bikers buy bikes cheap after the rich urban biker figures out this ain't his lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so has riding or your experiences riding influenced your writing? Yeah.
So you need to say writing with a D and writing with a T.
Yes.
I think he's talking to
You're
you,
asking
Chris.
me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm asking
Okay.
you. We're still on you,
Well, everyone
man.
else started nodding their heads. I thought, okay, it's a general question. Kinda.
Kinda.
I don't suppose you could be a tad bit more specific.
Just a little bit of detail.
No. Slow down,
Yeah.
buddy. Don't talk so much. Just relax.
Bring it back down under 40, man. The cops, Popo, going to get you, man. All right.
It makes me want to write about motorcycles, but motorcycles are kind of a sight and sound sort of deal.
Yep.
Everything that makes someone excited about a motorcycle, it's those two senses. And so it kind of takes away from my writing a bit, wanting to write about them. And writing them, I can't write while riding. I haven't written anything since I bought my bike.
Uh-oh.
We know what you've been spending your time
That's actually
doing.
a viable excuse.
Yeah.
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 All right.
By the way, that's probably one of the only acceptable excuses.
Exactly.
Next victim.
Yeah.
Oh,
Explain yourself.
I wish I still had that running. That was the best bike I ever had. That is not exactly mine. It is a photograph that Scott found, and I once took that sucker from Athens, Georgia, to Houston, Texas, to Daytona, Florida, and then back to Georgia. And it was a pretty much nonstop trip from Athens to Houston. Stayed a couple of days with an artist friend of mine there, and then rode 24 hours straight from Houston to Daytona. The last 30 minutes, that was scary because I couldn't stay awake.
Ass pucker moment.
Uh-huh. And that was basically the only thing that was keeping me awake was the sheer terror of possibly going to sleep. And as soon as I got to where we were going and got off and realized that, this thing about cowboys and bow-legged blue jeans is really, really true when you get saddle sores. I managed to find myself a recliner, and I crashed out for about 8.5 hours straight while my second wife was out on the beach by herself. And anyway, it was a fun week or so.
Well, now I know for a fact that motorcycles has influenced at least one of your stories because I've read it and published it.
Yes, indeed. And actually, the bike wreck that is in the early part of that story happened to me. And the two titanium screws and holding the guy's left knee together happened to me. I've still got the scars. I still have some tendon damage in my right hand. What happened was, okay, it didn't happen at band camp, I'll tell you that. I was going.
What happened was,
I was going to work. Bike was my only means of transport. All the cars that I had were down. It was after I got divorced from my first wife, so I didn't have an awful lot of money. And I decided to go up to a local restaurant, get some takeout, and for midnight dinner at work that night. Came down a hill, had a green light at the bottom, was going through the intersection, and a drunken taxi driver pulled out in front of me.
Ouch.
Oh, not good.
I missed clipping his bumper by about that much. I swear, I
Oh,
geared down 3 times in the length of time it took me to just blink. But I did.
That thing had to be squalling too.
I popped that bumper, and I went flying over the handlebars and flying through the air going, oh, I just fucked up my holiday pay again. I hit a concrete bridge. I was about 15 feet away from falling 60 feet into a river. And I look back, and here comes my motorcycle.
Oh,
Oh,
that's not good.
And I'm going, now I'm going to die. This thing will crush me.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's a. I'll drink to that one.
yeah, amen.
Well, turns out the owner of the taxi company was the drunk driver.
Oh,
And
Oh,
they had just had a company party. And they were coming back from the company party. There were 2 taxi cabs in a row filled with the employees.
oh no.
When we got to court over it, he claimed his nephew was driving. And then, no, wait a minute. At the scene of the accident, he claimed his nephew was driving. When we got to court, his nephew claimed he was driving. The judge didn't know which one was telling the truth because I was the only witness that could put either of them at the accident scene.
oh man.
So it got thrown out of court. But my insurance company went after them tooth and nail, got his insurance canceled, got me a nice little settlement. The lawyer got half, the insurance company got half, and the lawyer got a third, the insurance company got a third, I got a third. Had enough money to get the bike rebuilt and buy myself my first real computer, which was a Radio Shack 286,
Oh wow. Okay.
and began writing. Yeah, that lets you know what time period it
Yeah, I was
was.
gonna say that sets it. That sets it on the calendar. Certainly.
That was state of the art. Radio Shack still existed, and 286 was the best there was.
Yep. That's going back a ways.
Yeah,
Oh.
just a little bit there.
But like I said, I had the bike rebuilt, and it was years after that I took the long trip to Texas, and then back to Florida, and then back up here to Georgia.
all right.
Ooh, yay!
That's beautiful.
Yamaha.
That really is pretty. It's nice paint.
Yeah,
What year
that's
is
a
it?
2004 Yamaha Roadstar. It's that particular paint job they only did for 1 year, and it's just gorgeous. The underlying they do which was an odd for Yamaha to do. They did a silver underlying coating before they shot the red over it. So it's brilliant. I've loved that motorcycle. I still own that motorcycle today. I bought it in 2004, not off the showroom floor. I ordered it off the showroom floor. They kept trying to tell me to buy a bike there, and I was like, no, I want this paint job. And I had a stage 2 kit added to it. The floorboards, if you notice them, they kind of up at a weird angle. I'm 6'3", so I put some 2-inch extenders that poke them forward 2 inches and up at a 10 degree, and that is the most comfortable riding position. It's got 102 foot-pounds of torque. For an 04, that was a big deal. That is my 3rd or 4th motorcycle. My first motorcycle was a KZ, a Mach 4 750 2-cycle Kawasaki, which ran like a bat out of hell for about 1,000 miles, and then you'd hear a loud bang, and then you took it home and rebuild it, and then you'd ride it. You'd ride it like a bat out of hell for another 1,000 miles, and then it'd go bang, and you'd whatever the next thing was.
It seems terribly efficient.
I tell you what, for 1,000 miles, it was damned exciting. But it was like, oh, look, I've gone 1,000 miles. You die now. And that was it. It was quick. So, and my second motorcycle was a 75 Sportster, and I rode that around forever. And then in between, the Japanese bikes started coming up with some pretty good cruisers. And I wrote for a motorcycle magazine, so I got to ride pretty much everything that came off the assembly line of anybody.
I'm
That was
jealous.
very cool.
Yeah,
Well, and it was
that's awesome.
It was in the time frame, the 2005, 2006, 2007. So, biker build off was big. Orange County was big. And everybody that a cousin figured they could build a motorcycle. And they, of course, wanted a motorcycle magazine. So I'd go ride everybody's motorcycle. And I had the opportunity to tell them how much they sucked. But a lot they were just, they were trying to build the cool chopper look, not understanding the ergonomics of a long chopper and how the chopper evolved as a philosophical item.
Yeah.
So you go to meet someone like Roger Bourget, who had it down. I mean, Roger Bourget was a genius. He took the oil cooler and he ran the oil actually through the frame and used the frame as an oil storage reservoir and cooler. That's just brilliant. But so I loved his stuff. But I got to meet all these bikers. Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
You didn't? Anyways, so
no, damn it. And I love out of all of them, he had the prettiest bikes I'd ever seen. They were gorgeous.
And I got to meet him and interview him, and my daughter got to meet him. She was really excited. So I interviewed a whole bunch of the people from Biker Build Off for the magazine, the Quick Throttle magazine, and I did a 20-question session with them. And the cool part was they all had that kind of prepared interview they'd done a million times with people from Discovery or whoever the hell. And I just threw that off the table right off the bat. I said, let's talk these 20 questions. Let's talk about your favorite place to ride. Let's talk about what you did to this particular design. Let's talk about these other things other than your current PR special that you're trying to push and talk about. And a lot of the guys, it was kind of interesting. Matt Hotch, who won the Build Off a few times, he actually sent me pictures of my article hanging on his wall. So, and So, side story to that, I interviewed Scott Walker, at the time was running for the governor of Wisconsin, but he rode a motorcycle. So I did 20 questions with him, non-political, just talked about motorcycle riding. And so afterwards, I'm at a bait meeting, and a guy rolls up on me and he says, "Hey, you're Tom, you're Pirate. You're the guy with Quick Throttle, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, we ride with Scott Walker. We're like kind of like his honor guard. We ride with this guy." I said, "Oh, that's great." He goes, "You know what he talks about?" I go, "What?" He goes, "That friggin' article where he wrote in a biker magazine. That's all we hear about. That's all he talks about." And I was like, "Oh, cool." He goes, No. You don't understand. All he brings up is that stupid article." And I'm like,
were they like tapping brass knuckles in their hands when they were saying it?
Yeah. So I guess
sort of feel off of it. Yeah.
He got to look around. Everybody's all gathered up for their next ride. And he's like, "Well, you guys haven't been in a biker magazine, have you?" When it gets to take off. So it was just kind of a cool thing. And for like I said, for years I had done that. And now when it contributes, and kind of a sidebar here, when we talk about, Chris talked about it a little bit, it's kind of hard to write about the motorcycle experience and really do it justice. I think that the Easy Rider magazine for years had short stories in it that really kind of captured, the writers there captured the feeling and the exhilaration and everything else of a motorcycle ride, the thrill, and then the kind of the elements of riding in a really cool, mind-relaxing, mind-clearing state, and then like riding through the rain when everything sucks, but you're just going to deal with it because you're on the freaking motorcycle. So all that kind of stuff, I think, contributed to me appreciating motorcycles as a whole. And then once I actually rode them, I got to experience that. That was great. I don't think there's kind of, and I may be a little prejudiced now, I don't think there's a lot of literature out there that really is that kind of exciting as those Easy Rider stories. And it may be out there. I just haven't run across it yet. That kind of codifies not only the lifestyle, the biker lifestyle, but that freedom of. I tell you what, if I'm having a bad brain day, it's just, the writing's not coming and all that, or it's just because of stress, family, all that other stuff. You can put a leg over the motorcycle. You can start the thing up. You can go for a 20-mile ride, and I don't care where you're at. By the time you get home, your head's clear. You're just kind of in this zone of enjoying it. Just the vibration, the sound, the power, the cruising through the traffic, the avoiding the morons that try to kill you, right? So, all that stuff comes into it. But when you get home, you throw the leg off the bike and you let her start cooling down, and then the tins are popping and all that good stuff. Your brain's just in this right spot to be creative and enjoy what you're doing again, because you actually enjoy riding. It really sucks that daily grind right out of you. So that's just me ranting.
There's the whole, and I've seen the meme. You see it go by on social media, but people have talked about it. $5 of gas on a motorcycle is worth 5 hours of therapy anyplace else, right? And that's that's not hyperbole. That's true. That's a reality. You're right. It's part of the reason I'm sure most of us do it.
All right, Quincy, which one you want me to throw up? You got 3.
Go ahead and throw up the gray one, the FJR, because that's Rocinante. That's actually the plate on it
That
now
one?
says Rocinante.
That's awesome.
That is a beautiful piece of machinery.
So I've put basically 50,000 miles on it since 2004. I bought it new, and so prior to this bike, the reason I have this bike is that I was on a Kawasaki Concourse, which they'd made for 20 years because it was a perfect bike. They stopped making it while they redid it. I killed a Camry with my Concourse. That's a story I'll save for later. That bike, so I've ridden sport bikes, cruisers, BMWs, street bikes. The FJR, and I tell this to everybody, the FJR is pound for pound the best all-around motorcycle I've ever ridden. So I've done. I used to live in Colorado. I've taken that canyon carving. I've beaten the 600 sport bikes on it. I can't beat the leader bikes, but it's close. Cruising long, you can spend all day in the saddle in that bike. 2 up. The passenger is comfortable for hours on that bike. The cargo capacity is fantastic. The mileage is fantastic. And when you get on the highway and you want to goose it, it is a rush. It is really just the most amazing bike I've ever ridden.
It is. I reviewed it a long time ago, and it's a great cross between. It took all the best things of a sport bike and turned it in also a cruiser without going too far over into what I'm going to call the Harley lug down cruiser, the big guy cruiser. The FJR is just. I'm surprised more people didn't appreciate it in its time, because it is really a brilliant motorcycle.
Yeah. It's interesting because they've been making it now almost 20 years. They're not making them in Europe next year because of the mileage laws that they have in, which terrifies me. So I'm all for fuel economy and migrating to non-fuels and whatever, the alternate fuels. However, if they do that if I lose my FJR, I'm going to lose my mind. Right? But it's still, I get 45 miles of the gallon on that bike if I'm not pushing it.
Now, it went to a fuel. Yeah, with carburation.
Yeah.
That's carbureted, correct? That's not electronic fuel. But it's not. Is it electronic fuel injection in 2004?
The FI. So that was it. It had ABS and DFI in 04. It was ahead of its time then, and it pretty much never quit. I just test rode a new one, which I didn't like as much. It was in 2021 because they lightened it up and they made it more sport bike and a little top heavy, which I get because if you want to play in the corners, it's good for that. But I'm an old fart now. I don't do as much playing as I used to.
So really quick, so I did a lot of test rides, but in early 83, I did my first, 85. I did my first test ride on the original VMAX. So I was, So I go down to the dealership, this little motorcycle. I hop on it, and he's like, "Yeah, just really quick, run around the block." And I'm like, "Okay." So I pull out of the parking lot. I go to second, I pop a wheel. I go to third, I pop a wheel. I go to fourth. I'm like, "Oh my God!" So I come around, I pull in, and I go, "I love it, but I can't own it because I will go broke on tickets."
I talk about this. So anybody who's watching this online, if you can find it, look up the original VMAX magazine marketing strategy. It was the best marketing I've ever seen for a motorcycle. It showed a close up of the rear wheel and smoke pouring off it.
Yep, it was a 200. So at the time, it was just a giant freaking tire. Yeah,
that's it, right? And it was just and you goosed it, and that thing was a monster. I'd have done anything to ride one.
They took the VMAX motor, they detuned it slightly, and put it into their Yamaha Roadstar cruise bike. So you had a V4 water cooled, detuned slightly. If you were cute, you could actually go down and put the horsepower back onto it somewhat, shaft drive, and that motor, when it was detuned, was so reliable. Yamaha offered a 5-year warranty, regardless of drivetrain, out of
No
the gate when
kidding.
you bought that motorcycle. Yeah, the
Yamaha's
Roadstar was a
made
beast.
some fantastic platforms over the years.
Yep.
I've really enjoyed their. And I used to have the FZ1. I had one of those at one point. Loved that bike.
Yep.
So the cool part, I don't know if anybody knows, is, and maybe all the manufacturers do this, like with the FZ1 and the B King, which is the other bike I have. Well, don't have it anymore because that would be bad. But what they would do is Yamaha would take their sport bike motors from the year or two prior and drop it into their street bikes and something else. So it was a proven platform that put plenty of horsepower that you didn't have to worry about. I've really appreciated. Yeah, that's it.
There you go. That's it. Yep.
That is
That
not
says it all.
hyperbole.
Now, I'd like you guys to understand that in 1985, that's what it did because it was a little bike. In 2016, was it, or 14, they redid it. They goosed the size up. It's now 210 or 220 horsepower at the rear wheel, and it is a monstrous beast. Now, it only has like a 2.2 gallon tank, so you're pretty much going gas station to gas station, but you're going really fast.
Yeah. I'm probably the only guy here who's actually literally watched his fuel gauge move.
Yep.
Nope.
So the other one, as long as we're talking, put the black and gray one up.
All right, that one.
No. So that's my Guzzi. That's a street machine, and I love that. So that bike. So if you're familiar with Suzuki's Hayabusa, it was, I think still is, the fastest production bike made.
Yep.
They put that motor, a 1300cc performance machine, in this bike.
Wow.
And I had that up to, so when I took this, when I bought it new, it was a midlife crisis. I make no apologies about that. So I had him put on a power commander. I changed out the exhaust to the Yoshis. And then I had, so the dealership that I bought it from in Colorado, they actually had a racing team. And so I told them, do whatever you want to it, make it a monster. They did. They called it the bell of the dyno. And so it was cranking. It was 160 some horsepower at the rear wheel. When I took it out I did it twice. Again, not smart, but I did it. Got that bike up to 167 miles an hour, and it was going so fast. So that's the other thing. I don't know how many have ridden bikes really fast, but the universe compresses into very small window, and the sound changes, right?
Yep. And even if you're not positioned for it, you start leaning forward. You get low. You get out of the wind. You're looking just over the top of the speedometers. You're just little eyes. And the world's going by, and it's like Star Wars when they take off in the hyperspace. All the lights are going by.
It is just like, I'm not encouraging.
And you don't even realize it's happening until you're like, oh shit, and you have to break the slow down because the cops just went past you.
So I had
and then when you finally slow down to 55, you're like, well, I could just step off the motorcycle and walk this fast. This is ridiculous.
Exactly.
There was a stretch in Colorado where there were no side entrances. It was string straight. You could see cops there. You weren't going to hit a cow. You weren't going to hit a car. It was the perfect spot to see what your bike could do. So that's when I actually watched the fuel gauge moving, which is a weird experience. It's like I'm
on a motorcycle.
Yeah. And so basically, and it was just full throttle until the front wheel started to pick up. Because if you look at that bike, it doesn't have there's no fairing. It's just really a flying brick.
Yeah.
And it's like, and so that's an unnerving feeling. So then you get off the throttle and then you get back to I could walk this fast.
So the Hayabusa and the Big Ninja were kind of, so we talked about the rich urban bikers kind of buying big Harleys and then selling them cheap afterwards because they just couldn't deal with them. They wasn't the lifestyle they thought. And boy, they sure are noisy and rattly. And but the Hayabusa and the Big Ninja, I think it was a 1300 or 1100.
1100.
So all the guys would buy those thinking that they needed the biggest, hottest bike. And they'd ride them twice and put them in their garage because it scared the living crap out of them. Because you had what you really had was a ton of horsepower and a ton of handling that if you really didn't understand the dynamics of that, the first time you went off the road into a field and didn't mean to, you went, this is a scary friggin' bike, and I don't know what I just spent $20,000 on. So you could pick up, afterwards, you could pick up Hayabusas and Ninjas cheap, because there's people that are scared the crap out of them, and they want them out of their garage, baby.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. And so I did that once on that bike. I was following a guy who knew what he was doing. He was on a leader bike. And so, I didn't know that the road did this. It was an elbow.
Oh, no.
So he came in and so I kind of gotten around him because I was showing off and I was stupid and young. And I didn't know about this elbow. I ended up overshooting the curve. I was in the dirt, like yards from pine trees, the back end swishing, and literally pooping my pants the whole way. The guy, and I finally got it stopped, like 4 inches in the soil. The guy pulls up behind me and looks at me and just cool as a cucumber says, "Nice recovery."
Glad you're breathing.
Yeah.
I kept riding, but that teaches you a modicum of respect.
So I did most of my riding in my younger days. I did most of my riding in Arizona, Southern California, Texas, New Mexico. So all pretty much desert riding. I moved to Wisconsin, and I'm having a good time riding in Wisconsin. And we're on this kind of forest trail road, and there's a group of us. And all of a sudden, I see everybody in front of me kind of doing this slide brake head for the tree thing, and I'm like, "What the hell?" So, and I hit it, and what I hit was just leaves, a little bit of some leaves on the road that are slightly wet, just slightly wet. Is like putting glass under the motorcycle rear tire, and everything goes to crap in a handbasket until you hit some actual pavement again. And I'd never experienced it, so now I recovered quickly because I'm a reasonably experienced rider. But I was like, oh, my God, screw this. So no more riding through the forest looking at the pretty autumn trees because the leaves are freaking falling.
Well, it's just like, riding along in the neighborhood and somebody just cut the grass.
Yeah.
Hey, that'll put you down in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's all it is. That's oil on the road.
All
right. Hey, let's talk about riding and stuff. What's up? More motorcycles. More motorcycles.
No more bikes.
Sorry.
I love bikes.
There's my dirty girl. She is a 96 Vulcan 800. I've rejetted her. I gutted the air box and opened her up a little bit, and I'm getting about 35, 36 miles to the gallon on her right now.
That's nice, actually.
Well, it was. I actually put her in the shop last year to get the forks rebuilt, and it took 4 months to get bearings and parts and everything in the bushings.
Yeah,
really.
Well, everything was shut down.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've got to tear the carb apart and clean it out, or I'm going to get somebody to do it because I've just been so busy with publishing stuff with Three Ravens, because it's just set for 4.5 months in the shop, and it gummed it up, and it's just like it's sticky. And it's just like, no. So we need to do something there.
My 1700, which is 102 cubic inches, if I'm just riding, let's say riding casually, I get about 42 miles to the gallon. However, a lot of the time I'm pretty much romping and stomping, and I get about 28 miles a gallon. Still better than the average car. And with a 5-gallon tank, of course, you're stopping that much faster. But yeah, I mean, if you take it easy and you're on the highway a little bit, you don't get. I mean, it's a big motor, but the Yamaha is a big torque motor, so it's just got a long, deep stroke, and it just kind of pounds you down the road. You never lose any ground. But yeah, your mileage will vary.
Oh yeah, it all depends on how you play on that throttle. Now, okay, I've got an experience on that bike that actually inspired the start of the story I got in here called "When Vulcans Cry," and my character Braxton Hicks, ex-Air Force aircraft mechanic. I just based him off of me when I wrote it. So he's starting out, and he's cruising along, and I've got him riding through the Chickamauga battlefield. And he's just cruising along. He's listening to the thump of the motor, and just the wind's blowing. Just you're in that zen. And then all of a sudden, the deer pops up out of nowhere, and he has to throw it into a power slide because shit, deer. Been there, done that on
Me
deer,
too.
on idiot people in cars. It's like,
Yep.
you throw that thing into a power slide and hope you can slow it down enough to straighten it out and stop before you bury it in the back of a vehicle.
Yeah.
And you can't lock up the tire too much. You got to let the feather the tire. So if you get some traction, you maybe squirt just a little bit to the side, or
You jump it over.
Yeah.
And but you're doing all of this by instinct. I mean, and by the way, the only way to learn it is to have 5 idiots cut you off so you learn it. Otherwise,
pretty
you're
much.
going to chew a bumper.
And then you never forget, right? That's etched in your brain.
Now,
So everybody listening, watch for motorcycles.
God,
Yes, please. Right?
Indeed.
Oh,
And if you get a motorcycle, so we should actually go around the bit of advice you give for new riders. Mine's easy. I treat and I still do this. I've been riding 30 some years. Treat every motorcycle ride as if you're in a bar fight. Because it could come at you from any side, any angle, any time. It's your job to not get hit in the face.
yeah, that's
That's it.
true.
Assume they haven't seen you, even
Yeah.
if they're staring right at you. You've made eye contact. You know each other's first name now. You can have children together later because you're on the same page. Believe me, they saw a blank space, even though you had a giant motorcycle with a headlight and all kinds of stuff around it, and you're a big biker guy, and they will pull right in front of you because they're oblivious. They're not paying attention. They're listening to Katy Perry on the radio, whatever important stuff is going on, and they will pull right in front of you and let you T-bone. So yeah, you have to understand everybody is out to kill you. Maybe not by intent, by inattentive to detail. So
Make sure and check your mirror before you jump over. And regardless of how far behind you that car is, it's probably coming up a lot quicker than you think.
yeah, and never ride in the dead zone. So I always, if I start coming up on a motorcycle, my intent is to pass it so they see me, or back off so that I'm way behind. Because when they decide to change lanes, again, they're going to look right in the mirror, they're going to look right at you, and they're just not going to see you.
Yep.
Well, I can say that half of my skills came from riding the same roads at a smooth, easy cruise that I used to have to drive the tractor on to go plow up the field. And the other half came from being in rush hour traffic on Highway 285 going around Atlanta.
Yep.
The only rule that I want to impart to
No.
anybody is everybody on the road that is not you is an idiot.
It's true.
Now let's clarify. Hang on.
You are going to die.
There are a bunch of young bucks out there that aren't us, that just love to go. I'm serious, because I did it when I was way younger, but they love to gun the throttle, love to shoot the gap, pretend they're freaking invincible, and there's no protection on that motorcycle.
Wait, you don't
And
still do that?
Oh, shush.
Not when anybody's looking.
Safety now.
No, I don't. You snapper.
So I do it with a mindset now versus I'm not out to impress anybody. I just want to get the hell out of everybody's way, kind of a situation. But that ability, or that confidence that you have all the control in the world because you're on this really fast, powerful machine that just darts and zings and zaps. It's an illusion. When you add in or factor in other people on the road doing what they're going to do, and again, oblivious to you, and they will clock you right now. And so and the other side of that is, as you zip by somebody at 130 on your Hayabusa that you just got and you're all excited, all you've done is piss off 25 people in a row. So the next motorcycle they see, they're like, screw that guy, because you're him, and you pissed them off that one day, and they're not worried about him anymore. Because they know you all have an attitude.
When they start pulling in on your lane, they don't seem to like when you kick a dent in their door either.
I used to get mad about that stuff, and now it's just like I'll just ease off or hammer the throttle and go by them. But that gets back to you have to actively ride a motorcycle. Most people are passive when they drive their cars. Okay, I get that. I don't like it, but that's the reality. So it's up to us to be active, proactive in how we operate these small, what some refer to as death traps, but they're not if you ride them right.
So the motorcycle horns are anemic. My daughter got me a Max Air, which I have to put on. So a buddy of mine has a Max Air horn on his Harley. So the first time he hit it, every neighbor he had for probably 5 houses around came outside and went, "What the hell is that?" It sounds like a diesel truck. And the most awesome part is, if he's next to somebody and they start coming over and he hits that button, they think they're cutting off a diesel truck. So what do? They immediately zig back into their lane. It's just a motorcycle, and that may make them mad afterwards, but at least they didn't cut them off.
Oh yeah, I got me a set of train horns on mine.
Yeah.
Hey Chris, you're being quiet.
Huh?
Chris is being quiet, man. He's just sitting over in the corner, like just chill.
He's chilling.
He's sitting there going, "Let these
I'm just
old
listening.
parts talk." I've noticed that all the skills I picked up on a motorcycle make me a far safer driver of a
That's right.
four-wheeler.
Yeah.
Well, because
you're
you're
more-
looking more, right?
You're
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at everything a whole lot more.
Yeah. I'll be going down the highway, maybe going to Liberty Con, someplace else, and we'll be in some really busy traffic, and my wife will go, "Are you being careful?" And I'll look. I'll go, "Honey, you see that blue Stingray over there? That Corvette? He's about to do something really stupid." And within 500 yards, he'll cut from the far left lane over to the off ramp without a turn signal or something similar. It's you develop this paranoia about everything around
the
you,
right word.
and you harness it into a superpower.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yep.
But I mean,
So
she's
in-
just going, I'm glad you're driving and not me, and I'm going, so am I. So am
Yeah, I got this.
in
I've seen
Texas,
you drive before.
in Texas, it's easy to spot the moron. The moron is in a black vehicle, and it's either a Dodge Cuda or a black Mustang, and they are morons. I will go to the bank. You're a moron. So they cut people off. They go across lanes. They gun the. I had a guy come into a gas station,
Wait,
chirp the tires, and do a.
You mean the one that are compensating, right?
So Mustang GT 500 all black. You know this guy spent way too much money on this car. He comes to the gas station. Yeah, exactly. He chirps the tires as he comes off the main road. As he comes into the gas station, he slides to a stop in the parking spot next to me. He looks at me like he's Bob Badass. He opens his door and it's friggin' Katy Perry cranked up to the maximum. I'm like.
I'm starting to think you got something against Katy Perry here, man.
No. Just give me your friggin' man card and the keys to that car. You don't friggin' deserve it.
Oh, that's
Oh my God. So.
Okay,
Now,
what's your best?
If you're a closet Katy Perry fan or a closet Taylor fan, no big deal. I'm not criticizing you.
Katy Perry's fine. It's the combination of them that makes it.
What was your best moment that will always stick in your mind? Is that perfect moment?
The day I got to meet Arlen Ness and his son at a bike event and sit down on a couch and just talk to him.
Oh,
okay,
that was one of those.
That's pretty bad.
There was a biker build-off event in Phoenix. There were like 30 builders. They were all hiding in their friggin' trailers. So, and if you walked up, you give them your whatever autograph picture, whatever, and they'd run it inside and have the guy sign it and bring it out. And I was like, this sucks. And I walk over to the Victory. They had kind of a booth, but then there's Arlen, and I can't remember the name of his son. Damn it! But they're just standing there. And you walk up to him, you start talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, sit down, bud." So we're just talking about the stuff he's done, the insane designs of motorcycles, and just the nicest freaking guy on the planet. And his son had the same attitude, and they didn't turn anybody away. They didn't put on any fake airs. And this guy's been designing and part of the biker scene.
Corey
kind
Ness.
Corey Ness.
Literally a legend.
Yeah, just wouldn't have to give you the time of day if he didn't want to, and he just wanted to talk to everybody about everything, and it was just the coolest friggin' moment. I'll never forget that. It was awesome meeting him. He passed, of course, and I got to meet him before he passed, and that's just freaking awesome.
Yeah. So for me, I mentioned the Kawasaki Concourse I had that I killed a Camry with. This was when I first bought it. And so up until that point, with the motorcycling I'd done, it was pretty much just in the Denver metro area, some of the foothills and so forth. I got this, and I'd had it about 3 months. And so the Concourse was one of the original sport touring bikes. And I said, and my buddies were going to Vegas. They wanted to fly out, spend the weekend there, and then come home. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to ride my motorcycle out there. I'd never done that before, right? It's 11, 12 hours. Well, okay, doing the speed limit is like 13. Riding the bike out there, it was purely by coincidence. I was cruising across the northern. There's a stretch of highway like 10 miles south of the Utah border, going string straight east-west. And the sun's starting to go down. I'm tired. I pulled out. I'd gone through Monarch Pass and the mountains and everything, Durango. What I didn't know was that it was a full moon. That I never paid attention to that. And I need to bed down for the night. I had a little tent. I had a bunch of stuff, on the back of the bike. So I'm looking for signs. There's a KOA. There's a sign that said on this highway, KOA, like 10 miles, more like 20 miles north in Utah, in the Painted Desert. So the sun's down. I got to actually ride through the Painted Desert on a motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
Without out, under a full moon.
Oh, wow. That was probably gorgeous.
And I hand to God, it was one of the prettiest things I will ever see in this existence. There was nothing like it.
No,
It was phenomenal. I'll never forget that. So those moments happen. That's the reason you own a bike, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
An evening or night ride on a long straight piece of highway, and it's like you said, just the right kind of a rainstorm, monsoon off in the distance kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's the motor rumbling, and it's the white line passing you, and you're just in a freaking groove that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
And if you've experienced it once, you want to experience it again, because
it was a magic moment.
And it's literally 40 or 50 miles, 60, 70 miles of just, so it's an hour and a half straight of just that. And it's just mind clearing. It is so awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, see, just shortly after I got my bike, I usually ride through the battlefield, and that way I get a chance to see all the deer and stuff during the springtime. All the babies are coming out, and it's gorgeous. All the flowers are starting to bloom. So I'm cruising through there at about 40, and I look off to one side, and there's a crow just off my corner, and he's cruising along, soaring, riding my wake. I look off to this side. There's another one. I've got a crow that ran at least halfway through the battlefield. Both of them just soaring off of my wake. And, dude, that was some epic shit right
That's
there.
cool.
I threw that up. It's been a couple of years ago, but I threw that up on Facebook and like, Odin sent the messengers to check on you.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's a couple short stories you could get out of that. That's neat.
Yeah, and I fly a crow feather on either bag for those two that rode with me that day, because that was epic and powerful, man. That's medicine work right there.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
Wow.
You're muted, Dan.
Your mouth's moving, but we're not hearing you. There you go.
There are a lot of people that would be grateful for that experience.
Yeah, we don't have one on our end, do we? Wait.
I did something similar to what Scott was just talking about, but it was in a four-wheeler. I had just bought a Cutlass Super Supreme, black on black on black, 300 horses, turbo, 350 turbo hydramatics, and I had the cover for the 4-barrel flipped upside down. So when you kicked in the 4-barrel, it roared.
Yeah.
And it was the first car I ever bought with my own money instead of my parents buying me some used piece of crap.
Yeah.
So I'm driving down the country road near my parents' farm, and I look up, and there is a hawk flying right over the hood of my car, where I can see it through the windshield. And this was back when the CB radios were just becoming a fad because of Robert McCall's or Bob McCall's.
When they were just becoming a fad, oh my God!
I am that old.
You just dated yourself, dude.
That's
CB McCall, baby.
I like me. Maybe I'll get lucky. Here I was trying to figure out. This was the last generation of people that actually had to buy a ham radio license in order to legally use a CB radio.
CB. Yep.
And I was trying to figure out what
1975.
yep. And I was trying to figure out what my handle would be. And I just looked up and I go, yep, Blackhawk, that'll do. And I was already a childhood fan of the comics, the DC comic series of the same name.
Oh, cool.
So it stuck. And that was just fun. But the coolest thing I ever did on a bike was on I-40, running from North Carolina to Knoxville, Tennessee. I call that road the Snake because it ain't straight.
Well, you need to ride the Dragon's Tail at some point.
Yes.
Probably, but my wife won't let me ride anymore because she wants me to stay alive.
Hey, get a Can-Am or a Riker.
That's what.
No complaints.
There you go.
Yep, Can-Am is what she said that I could buy, and I go, that costs more than a house and 2 acres of land.
Actually, a Riker doesn't. Just so you know. So Vicky, I converted Vicky to motorcycles. She is one of us now. She was never into motorcycles before she met me. She got on the back of my FJR, Rocinante, and that was it. She was hooked. So a few years back, she buys the Can-Am RT, the big touring package. She took that, did the Dragon's Tail, and then there's another stretch of highway. I forget what it's called now. It's a weird Appalachian name that I'm sure I would mispronounce. She actually smoked us on that RT. That is one of the most stable machines I've ever seen. And I was pushing it. So just so you know, you can ride and do everything you ever wanted to do on a bike on one of those. So the Rikers, they're smaller. You can get one for like $10,000, the 900. So that she's got both.
Okay.
She works.
So my flying creature story, you've gone that way. I'm on my motorcycle. It's in the Arizona desert. It's about 10 o'clock at night. My son wanted to go for a ride. I got him on the back. I'm flying along, just a headlight, lonely piece of highway. It's great. It's awesome. The flying creature comes from the side. It's a June bug. It's the size of my fist. It flies at me over my windshield. It jumps. I don't know how. It hits me in the middle of my chest. And it's like or what are those fighters, cage fighters, punch me in the little chest. I had to pull over to get my breath back, and I had this crushed up. I could have been a superhero. I had a scarab in the middle of my chest. There was just little legs kind of flipping, and it was like, and my son's looking like, "What happened?" I go, "Hang on, I'll tell you in a minute." I said, "June bug that friggin' big," and it flew right in front of me. So. Not the same as your, huh?
What about you, Sommerkorn? You being quiet, man? You got any good things out there?
Favorite motorcycle story?
Chris?
Oh, sorry, my phone's quiet. I can't hear the speaker too well. Favorite motorcycle story? I got a Orange Cafe Racer 2018 Z900.
Cool.
I went riding with some adventure riders. They were going to do 1,000 miles. None of it on pavement.
Wow.
This is a street bike. Weighs 500 pounds. I got an adventure bike, but there's no challenge in taking the adventure bike on dirt. It gets boring after a while. So I take my street bike.
Wait.
And it's got 3 tires.
So you like the challenge?
Wait,
You took
your Harley off road?
I did. One time I bogged it down all the way to the axle. I had to have a Toyota Land Cruiser pull me out. That's cool.
You gave that guy.
There's nothing like it.
You gave that guy in the Toyota Land Cruiser a great story to tell afterwards.
Oh yeah. No one will believe him. I pulled a Harley out of the mud that one day. What? Harley doing in the mud?
Let me show you. It's on my camera phone. This is the guy.
I wasn't built for that,
Neither of
right?
us took pictures.
Why the hell is a bagger running on trails?
Too funny.
Whole new meaning
Too
of the
funny.
term softail.
Yeah, really. That would be a soft
Imagine
trail.
a hardtail. Imagine rock crawling on a hardtail. Oh god.
Oh god.
Oh God, no,
You would've heard.
thank you. I like my kidneys.
Yeah,
I still have use for them.
I ran into
They're
a couple
nice
in.
color, too.
I ran into a couple in Tombstone, Arizona. We'd stayed at a hotel overnight, and I'm actually from that area. And they were getting their BMW prepped up. They were dropping all their stuff back in bags and all that. And again, they're in Tombstone, Arizona. They had come down from the Canadian border. They'd started in Seattle, went to the Canadian border, and come down on nothing but forest trails all the way down to Arizona. And they'd pulled off, they would basically hit a forest trail into a town or into a hotel or whatever just to kind of catch a break. So, But they'd ridden the BMW. It had the big square steel bags on it. And I asked the gal was on the back. I said, is this comfortable? She goes, it's pretty good till we go downhill and the bike starts sliding sideways down a hill. She goes, that's exciting.
Well, so the good thing about a Beamer is that with those big things sticking out, you've got a low center of gravity. You can actually maneuver pretty well. I mean, that's the perfect bike for it.
Their plan was to. They were within 30 miles by then of the border. Their plan was to go down and hit the Mexico border and then head back up. But they were almost at the end of their journey, and they've been at it for a couple of weeks by the time we talked to them. But it was a very cool thing.
Yeah,
that would be a cool trip to do.
That would be.
Well,
and if you haven't done Blue Ridge on a motorcycle, just do it.
Yeah,
right, just do it.
You just reminded me of
So we're right at an hour, William.
Okay. One last quick question, real quick opinion question. If you see it on the trailer, what's your first thought?
Harley.
Wow, Harley.
I would probably I would probably have a bad snarky comment, but at my age now, I'm like, that dude's smart because he wants to take the bike to where he's going to ride it, and the 1,500 miles in between here and there, he's going to enjoy that. Yeah, again, when I was 27, that guy was a jerk. I'm 58 now. He's smart.
Yeah, so it depends on the bike, right? So if it's a Harley, it was a Harley. If it's something else, then he's saving his ass.
Hey, actually, let's see. The only person here that's got a Harley is Sommerkorn, right?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
When I went to Sturgis last year, I was the only Harley I saw on the highway headed to Sturgis that was powered by its own wheels. Everything else,
wow.
Everything else was Japanese or Italian.
So the market's changed. We could talk about business models and technology all night long if we wanted to. It kind of breaks my heart. Check Indian. Check what Indian is doing. I want to buy American.
I want an Indian so bad. They're so gorgeous
now. Yeah.
The only thing that Indian's missing is
Indian, and then they're going to kill it the way that they killed Victory, and you're going to end up with a bike that's going to have no spare parts. Yeah.
I'm not so sure because of how they're handling market share.
I would never buy
Indian almost died once.
Polaris killed Victory when they got the Indian brand name. That was their end goal. They want to still make motorcycles. They still want to sell them. I don't think you're going to see the Indian go away anytime soon. It isn't like the 100 series power plant that Reborn Indian did. They basically killed that off and they went with Polaris technology. I think Polaris is they know they've got the Harley not on the ropes, but they're chasing Harley pretty hard. And I think that they've done a great design. The only paint job they're missing on the full-blown Chief is what I call the Bumblebee, which is the yellow and the black. That's their best-looking model. They just haven't done it yet. But I think Indian's here to stay. Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous.
The industry, if you look at market share now, so here's the thing. Polaris, they own everything. That's a different conversation. The Rikers and the Can-Ams, they have been very smart about who they're marketing to. Right?
Yeah.
It's all the not big old fat white guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, but they are being, you look around, we see them all over town now. They have the right plan and they're catering to those people who have always been nervous about being on two wheels. I don't think
people who buy Teslas and BMWs are the ones buying Can-Ams.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There you go. BMWs and Teslas. So when I got out of the service. So when I got out of the service, and again, this is a side story, you cut it if you want to, but so when I got out of the service, I hopped on my Harley. I spent months riding around the Southwest having a very good time as a younger man. So I eventually realized I had to get a job. So I went to Phoenix to live with my dad. I had long hair by then. I'd gotten out of the service, the beard. I pull up. My dad's like, oh, yeah, freaking hippie. What the hell are you looking at? Oh, my God.
What is wrong with you? Go get a job, get a haircut. So, I can't believe you ride that motorcycle everywhere. That's just stupid.
So months later, we're sitting around the table just talking, and he goes, when I got out of the service back in '48 when Puerto Rico, I landed in Louisiana. I went down to the Indian dealership. I just bought a bike right off the old floor. So I rode it all the way up to Oklahoma, and I just kind of rode around for a couple of months. I said, hang on. When I pulled up on my motorcycle, you gave me crap because I spent the last few months of my life riding around on a motorcycle and being a delinquent. He goes, nah, that's different. That's different. I go, why? He goes, I didn't grow my hair out.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Time out. Back up.
Dad just wanted to bitch about something.
Exactly. Too funny.
All right. Well, we are at our time, so let's go ahead and go around with the closings. Tell people where they can find you and all your stuff, and we'll start with Sommerkorn.
Amazon.com.
Oh, that was quick and simple. All right, Quincy.
I love it. Who's next?
You.
Oh, right. So sorry. That's my beer. So you can find me at QuincyAllen.com and pretty much on Amazon. Look for right now the thing that's been doing really well that we want to turn people on to is Forging Destiny, which is book 2 of the Way of Legends series. Little dwarf coming of age story who is on a really remarkable journey, and the reviews have been fantastic on it. We're very pleased with that. And then, of course, look for my work with Eikenberry for Harent's story, The Great Purple Murder Bear, which we're very fond of, called Enforcer, and then the sequel that comes out hopefully this year, which will be Scourge. So QuincyAllen.com and go for it.
Tom.
You can find me on Tom Tinney, TINNEY.com, not the dentist, that bastard. Anyway, so yeah, TomTinney.com. I got a lot of short stories on the website you can read. I've got links to my books. A couple other cool things that are going on. Some of the webisodes I have for Detective in Mars. And one of them is a story about Giraffe, a thug gnome, based on Larry Correa's MHIU universe. So that's of course on Amazon. But yeah, two books, a lot of short stories. Hope you enjoy them.
Dan.
All right, I've got an author page on Amazon.com. If you want to find the music, it is on Bandcamp. If you want to read the stuff that has never and probably can never be published because of all kinds of reasons, look, Google Aphelion Webzine, APHELION WEBZINE. The URL is too long for me to memorize. Believe me, I'm 63. I'm going to retire. I ain't got time to repeat that all over and over again. Oh, and now we're down to William.
All right, so you can find me at WilliamJosephRoberts.com. You can find me on pretty much every social media page, just about, because I'm everywhere. Or you can look over at ThreeRavensPublishing.com, where I've got a bunch of stuff, and a lot of other people trust me to publish their stuff. And we're having a blast. And oh my God, I'm so busy. It's okay though, but it's all good.
I feel your pain.
But
you should feel his bank account.
I wish. But all right, thank you, Liberty Con.
Amen. Great. Thank you, Liberty
Take it easy and ride safe.
That's it. Rubber side down, always.